working on completing the final project of his third Pathways journey. Third. How do you take a sensitive, serious topic and achieve the goal of infusing humor? This will be our next speaker's challenge. Please give a warm welcome to Winter Park Toastmasters. Wait, sorry, I read that wrong. Please give a warm Winter Park Toastmasters welcome, applause, to past club president and current vice president of education with his speech titled, "It's September Again," distinguished Toastmaster Carmelo, Belardo.
A few years ago, I was contacted by a woman named Jennifer, who proceeded to tell me that her dad was Jason Gonzalez. Jason Gonzalez was my best friend in high school. We were together all the time. And I remember Jason telling me that he had a daughter. So when Jennifer called, it was something else. Recently, about 2 weeks ago, Jennifer was in Orlando, and we met, and we spoke, and she asked me a lot of questions about her dad, and that caused me to have to remember, and that was a very interesting and wonderful day, because I got to tell stories about Jason that I haven't told in a long time, like how Jason was, he just had the ability to connect with just about anyone and get them to like him or fall in love with him. I mean, everybody loved Jason. Jason had some problems with drugs, and he passed away 2016, I think, and I didn't find out until like 2019. And again, bringing up these memories was really, really great. And Jennifer asked me for a picture of Jason from junior high school. When I saw that picture, I thought about a lot of other things about Jason. Like when we used to cut high school. And Jason lived in the city, so he knew the city like the back of his hands. He knew all the subways, he knew all the secret tunnels. He knew how to sneak into the Twin Towers, which we did several times. Just imagine two kids walking into the windows on the world who do not belong there. We didn't stay long. Anyway, it's September, and I've given many, many speeches on the events that happened on September 11th. I grew up 8 miles from Ground Zero. You saw the Twin Towers outside of my bedroom window. So again, thinking about Jason brings me back, and I have an opportunity today to share a little bit more about what I've learned about 9/11. There was a lot of horror and terror and death that day. However, there were some really great stories that came out of it also. This woman, her name is Josephine. At the time, the firefighters in the Twin Towers met Josephine. She was exhausted. She didn't want to keep going down the stairs, and they knew her as Josephine. So a bunch of these firefighters, and the stories in this book, written by Italian Chief Richard Picciotto, they picked up Josephine and they carried her down, and Josephine slowed them down, big time. And when the evacuate order went out, these guys didn't think they were going to make it. It was about 9 firefighters with her, and they didn't think they were going to get out. And then they reached the 13th floor, and then the unthinkable happened. The building collapsed on top of them. However, they were on a part of the stairway that was reinforced when the building was repaired after the '93 bombing. So that stairway did not collapse, and they survived. They quickly they developed a great relationship with Josephine. She was their guardian of angel, because had Josephine not been there, they wouldn't have slowed down, and they would have been towards the bottom of the tower, outside of that stairway. Certainly, they would have perished. The firefighters that saved Josephine that day, or the firefighters that were saved by Josephine that day, were the pallbearers at Josephine's funeral. My many visits to the Twin Towers, one of them is when I got my first car. It was a 72 Dodge Dart. I paid $50 for it to my brother. And the first thing I did, I got in that car and I drove down to the Belt Parkway, over to the BQE, through the Battery Tunnel, right in front of the Twin Towers. And I stayed there until the cops made me move. There were some other great stories about the Twin Towers, too. Does anybody recognize this image? Philippe Petit. For those of you in the back that can't see it. Okay. Philippe Petit was a high wire walker who actually snuck into the Twin Towers, and he hung a wire across the towers and got out there with a balance stick. He was out there for about 45 minutes. And a great part of the story is the cops were called, and they were at the end of each rope on each tower. And Philippe came to the edge of the rope, the wire, and the cops were this far away from grabbing him. And they were telling him, "Come on, you have to get off. Come on, you have to get off. This is not safe." And he just smiled and turned around and went back out to the middle of the rope, the wire, and laid down and sat there for about 20 minutes with a smile on his face. He actually smiled at the police officer before he went out. So he was in his glory. And then he got arrested, obviously, when he came off. And I'm sure the cops wanted to do some things to him that they couldn't do because there was too many cameras around. But he was charged with trespassing. And he was handcuffed to a wooden chair in the police station. And the only thing he could do is do some magic tricks. So he started balancing the police hats on his nose. And there's actual photos of this. And his sentence was to do a clinic on how to walk a high wire for little kids in Central Park. And Philippe is still alive today. So many memories, good memories, great memories of before 9/11, of the Twin Towers. But I think the best and most cherished memory of all that I have is the skyline. Madam Toastmaster.